Jack, mate, look, just forget about the penalty in France, mate. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. No, mate, I wouldn't say you're being unfairly targeted. It usually is your fault. Yeah, look, I think what's probably happened is the steward saw you were involved and just figured that you had caused it. Hey guys, I'm Aussie Villain and welcome back to Kicking Haas. Today we have the Hungarian Grand Prix, the last race before the summer break when we will be able to get a lot of stuff on the car. Unfortunately for this one though, there is nothing new. It's only a 4-day break between the end of the French Grand Prix and the start of free practice one here. So it just kind of carries on at the same car. Now we are sitting 4th in the Constructors, 3rd in the Drivers with Sargeant, and Crawford is struggling a little bit down there in 16th with just the 6 points. It would be nice to see him get a few extras here if we could at all manage to do that. Like I said, nothing new on the car. There is a front wing and a rear wing that are coming shortly. And is there anything else that we've got in the design process? No, we've got only 2 projects going. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why don't we have other projects going? All right, well, there's nothing really that's gonna help us, so no major step forward. So we'll just leave it. I'll have a look when I'm not actually recording. Okay, so drivers, we do have a development point for everybody, so we will stick that into adaptability for Sargeant. We will stick that into reactions, perhaps, for Crawford. And for Kalen Frederick, you can have it wherever you want to have it, mate, because you are absolutely never driving my Formula 1 cars. So that is that. There's not too much else to do. There's nothing in terms of staff that needs to be fixed up. So let's have a look at the race. We are expecting... Oh, it's a wet race. And a wet practice as well. So at least I get some practice of... why does it have to be wet race? Anyway, for qualifying, red sector 1, blue sector 2, yellow sector 3. It's a bit of a go-kart track, this one, isn't it? So... we know we're good at going slow, so that might help us. The issue, of course, is going to be the wet race and whether Sargeant can provide that or not for us. So tyre strategy doesn't really matter because if it's wet, that's all going to go out the window. Compound performance, there is not that much of a difference between any of them. Actually, look at that. The average lap time between soft and hard is what, 0.4 of a second with the drop off. So the soft tyre is rubbish. The hard tyre is the best tyre here, really. Last year, K-Mag won. Sargeant was 8th, so if we could get Sargeant winning and Crawford 8th, that'd be okay. And it's the only time we've won here. But crucially, look at that. Red Bull have never won in sort of the time that we can see. So that's interesting, isn't it? All right, let's have a look at our performance targets here. Qualifying position of 8th, which is fine. And hopefully everybody will get to that point. Fastest lap we're not going to actually go for. We need someone in the top 10 practice. That'd be good, but... race and qualifying, and we will get ourselves a nice little 1.7 mil at the end of it. That'll be some spending money for the summer break, won't it? All right, let's head off to Hungary. So there we go. Heavy rain. Oh, it's moderate rain as well. That's the one that can be in between, and I stuffed up in... where was it I stuffed that up? Silverstone, wasn't it? All right, we'll go do some free practice and just pray for me. All right, so free practice is done. Let's go and see how we did. Now, it's not gone too badly, except you can see there Logan Sargeant 7th. Crawford, ignore his tyres because he's... the poor guy is just driving around a dump truck at this point. But Sargeant has had a spin in each of the 3 sessions. So the spinning top is back. Let's hope he's got that all out of his system. This was the wet one you can see there because there's some times that were not particularly representative. Yeah, so let's hope he's got all that out of his system and we can go and do well in qualifying. Look at that. Absolutely nailed the setups though, which can only be a good thing really if it is going to be a wet race, that they are as comfortable as they can be with their cars. So I'm assuming that Q1 is going to be fine. Obviously, we never know for sure with Crawford, but if it is going to be a close called thing, then I will come back. So we were indeed absolutely fine. Sargeant did one run up there in 6th. We did send Crawford back out, and he did drop down a little bit, so probably a good thing we did send him back out. Ocon, he had a crash, so he was out, and Perez wasn't good enough to get out of Q1. So a couple of big upsets there. Let's see if we can get both guys into Q2 now. All right, we are on board with Crawford. We are currently sitting 5th with Sargeant, 11th with Crawford. Now, first runs, as ever, were done on used tyres. So we should have a little bit of time in hand. I don't think the drop-off was quite big on a soft tyre, wasn't it? So we might have a 10th or 2, which would be enough to get Crawford back inside that top 10. But he's currently doing a slower lap through the first sector. Sargeant is quicker. But Sargeant should be absolutely fine. You can see it's only 0.2 off Leclerc in the Red Bull. So yeah, that is always a little bit further off now. Verstappen in the Red Bull. But here we go. Crawford's done a faster middle sector. He is currently 13th. Can he move himself up a little bit higher than that? He cannot. So Crawford eliminated. He will be starting from 13th. There's really a lack of penalties this year, isn't there, with the extra engine parts, which is a bit of a shame because I do tend to manage that quite well. But anyway, let's see what Sargeant can do in Q3. Where will he qualify? All right, now Sargeant got very, very badly blocked. We've got a crash. It's going to ruin our lap. We're currently 10th anyway. We got very badly blocked in turn 1 there by Leclerc. So we're a long way off the pace. And Giovinazzi is out, which by all rights should mean a red flag. And we'd be absolutely stuffed down there in 10th. But it is going to continue. We've done a green first sector, which is what you would expect. Because we lost, you know, probably the best part of a second and a half just in turn 1. And we are a chance here, I would say, of a front row, though you'd imagine Leclerc would be going faster. We should probably have this up here, shouldn't we? Let's see. Can we get within half a second of Verstappen and go to the front row of the grid here? Let's about to find out. And, oh, only 8th. That's disappointing. It may well be there was a yellow flag with the Giovinazzi crash that forced him to drop his pace. But look at that. Look how close we are to, you know, we're tenths. Under a tenth of a second off 5th and 4th. So a bit of a resurgence from Mercedes here as well, which is disappointing to see. All right, let's have a look at our strategy options with this wet race. It never starts as a wet race, does it? The rain always sort of comes at a later point. So we're going to need to do, what's that, 5 laps. Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake I made before. I think we go straight onto a wet tyre here, don't we? If we assume that's going to be a wet rather than intermediate for 5 laps and then a wet. So what gets us to lap 30? Does a medium tyre do it? It just about does. It just about does, doesn't it? So then, what did I say? We want to go into a wet tyre, don't we? So yeah, so the medium will get us comfortably to where we need to be. So we'll do that wet tyre, and then we'll just kind of see. It looks as though the end here, you might be wanting to get onto an intermediate, but we certainly won't. We'll make that decision at the time. So it's going to be the same strategy for both drivers, really, isn't it? There's not too many options. I didn't change that thing. But anyway, we've seen the strategy. That's what we'll be doing. And, yeah, let's hope it's a good one. All right, welcome back. Let's see if I can not stuff this one up. Moderate rain is the worst. I've kind of, you know, learned as we've gone through the game here what it all means. And pretty much light rain means intermediate, heavy rain means wet, and moderate rain is my worst nightmare because it could be either, it could be or, it could be both. So, yeah, that's not great. Now, we are deploying early on here, just trying to make up as many positions as we can, though Sargeant is going backwards at a rate of knots. He is down to 10th. Crawford, though, is up 1 to 12th, sorry. 2 positions from Crawford. Let's have a quick look at this, shall we? How's he done that? Down into turn 2, is it? And, yeah, a bit of bit of inside line. And past the soft-tyred running AlphaTauri there. Now, surely a soft tyre is not going far enough. Let's just check tyres. Now, I made the mistake in Silverstone, wasn't it? Not thinking a medium would get to the rain. Now, we've seen the medium is just getting to the rain here. So, surely a soft tyre is not going to do enough. And it wasn't that much quicker either. So, these soft tyre runners, I mean, we'll find out, I guess, soon enough. But surely they are going to have to stop before the rain. I don't understand why you would do that. But then, you know, people don't understand a lot of things I do either. But time will tell. But it wasn't like, you know, there was, what, they say it was half a second between the soft and the hard. So the medium sort of sits in the middle there somewhere as well. So you're probably talking 0.2 of a second a lap. You're not going to make that up in a pit stop. You know, like, you're not going to be able to go fast enough on the soft to make that up and make a pit stop worthwhile. So, if that's the case, then what, 1, 2, 3, we're sort of, both cars are up 4 places automatically. So, yeah, interesting strategy, but let's see what happens here. Rain will be with us about halfway through the race. Oh, Sargeant! He's been doing it all weekend. He didn't spin or crash in qualifying, but he's done it in the race. To the back he goes. Is he out of the race? Can he keep going? That's going to be the big question now, isn't it? All by himself. He looked like he was struggling for pace a little bit. And, well, there it is. Into the wall, front wing. We will have to respond relatively quickly here because of where he is on the track. But yeah, minor chassis, we'll need to come in for a front wing change. A soft tyre, will it get us to where we need to go from here? There's not much point changing the tyres, really, I don't think, is there? We'll need to change the front wing, so we'll do that. And my concern is that if I put a soft tyre on, he's going to have to stop again anyway. It's 0.4. Right, let's just do it. He's absolutely stuffed anyway, isn't he? So there we go. Logan Sargeant, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so we do have some stoppers here. Sargeant's done the fastest lap, if you're wondering why I had lap times up there. So Sonoda has just come in, so these soft tyre runners are not going to get there. To be honest, Sargeant now is marginal to get there. So, yeah, there's no way these guys are all going to stop. So that's going to help Crawford out a little bit. But of course, it all comes back to the rain, doesn't it? Nothing at this point of the race particularly matters until we get to the rain. And then the race will start as everybody there now does come into the pits. It started on a soft tyre, and Sargeant is still running last. So that gives you an idea of roughly how his afternoon's going, doesn't it? Because we had to change the front wing, plus he lost time actually hitting the wall and going off track and whatnot. So Crawford in 7th is our best chance of a point here, and Sargeant has just spun again. You might just need to call it a day, mate. This is old Logan Sargeant, isn't it? Hit the inside curb there, tossed him around. And, yeah, I mean, I'm almost tempted to retire the car, if I'm honest. So we've had some more pit stops. Crawford running a career best. Well, not his career best, but it would be if he finished there 6th place. Now, Ocon, who you may remember crashed out of Q1, he is up there in 7th. So he's having a good race. But, yeah. So far, relatively speaking, so good for Crawford. As who's just crashed here? Is that Sargeant again? Has Crawford crashed? As a yellow flag, it doesn't look as though it's going to be anything. Leclerc has crashed. He comes in the pit, so that will help Crawford. That's someone behind him that'll be almost just so far back now. He might even get passed by Sargeant. Oh, go on, Logan, ahead of Leclerc. He's beating a Red Bull. What a day! Alright, so we are predicting wet weather. It's coming in about 3 minutes' time. Now, the only good thing we have here is that Sargeant and Crawford are away from each other on the track. So that is obviously means we don't have to worry about double stacking. We can stop them when we need to stop them. Let's go on board here, and as soon as we start to see rain falling, we will be knowing it's time to come into the pits. And it's for... Oh, was it too late for Crawford? This could be a massive bonus for him if we can get him in this lap. I think he's... I mean, that's the pit lane. I'm pointing at the screen, like you can see what I'm pointing at. That's the pit lane right in front of us here. It might be too late. It is too late. Okay, well, that is what it is. We can't change when it starts raining as much as I'd like to. So he'll go and do another lap. Sargeant will be able to pit relatively speaking, at a good time, because he'll be coming in just as it goes to damp. Now should probably just pause this for a second here. It's too late now for Sargeant, but I just want to make sure we are still expecting what I assume is going to be a wet track. Surely that means it's going to be wet when it's moderate rain. So this might be a way for Sargeant to get himself back involved in the race here. Let's go and see what the pit stop looks like. Hopefully Crawford can keep things on track. Now, he's not as bad as Sargeant to adapting to conditions. But as Verstappen comes in behind us, we'll get an idea here of what everybody else goes on to as well. Just notice Norris is up there in 2nd. That's... Now, he's got nothing to lose here. A wet tyre is going to get us to the end comfortably. So I think he's just got to go. They're all coming out on intermediates. Oh, I haven't done it again, have I? And both cars as well, because Crawford... I did check when I saw that, and Crawford was already coming into the pits. Why has he got cars going past him? It's not that much the wrong tyre, is it? Oh, honestly, this game and its stupid weather conditions can go away. Alright, so here comes the more serious rain now, but Crawford's already dropped back to 12th. What we really, really need, it's going to go wet. It is going to go wet. Okay, so that's something. That is something, at least. It is going to go wet. It's going to be too late, though, I think, for Sargeant, who is quite a way... Oh, maybe it's not going to go wet. There's more rain coming. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Go wet, go wet, go wet, go wet. Tyres are overheating. Sargeant, just deal with it, mate. It's wet. The track is wet. All right. This is our time to shine now, boys. The track is wet. Crawford, you don't need to panic here because you are still in a decent position. Everybody's on intermediates. It's going to be, what, about 20-second loss. So he's looking okay here to come out in 5th, assuming everybody else stops. But this looks like it's going to be wet for a little while now. And then looking at that, I wonder if we need to come in for inters. Now, actually, you know what I'm saying to think may happen here is that everybody else might be on the inter and they're going to hang it out now. And then go, and then not have to stop for a wet. So we've gone the other way to them. And it might well be, as, I mean, look at Crawford go. He's absolutely cutting his way through here. The trick is going to be, can our boys keep it on the track? Pushing as hard as they are. An excellent move by Haas. As Crawford gained 2%. I mean, we shouldn't just brush over that too much. He just drove past 2 cars. Can Sargeant start to get himself back involved in the race here as well while the track is wet? This is literally at the time that these guys have to do it. If they don't do it now, then it's going to be a little bit too late. We've got, what, about 10 laps or so. If we say this is sort of inter, it might dip back to a wet. And then I think we might need to then stop. And then, yeah. Well, we'll see, won't we? Let's see what we go. I mean, look at them visually catching the cars in front, though. The issue, of course, is going to be almost certainly there's going to be a mistake from at least one of the 2 of them. But knowing now that we are going to need to make that extra stop to go to inters, we need to do this because we need to basically make up for that pit stop. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. Amazingly, Sargeant is on the track. With an overtake. Crawford overtakes Ocon. We just saw that. What's the gap to Russell in front? So that's Russell just there. Norris is locked up. So, I mean, these guys are all on the wrong tyre now. It is very much wet tyre conditions. The problem, like I say, we have is Sargeant gets past Leclerc and he's got Giovinazzi in front of him now. Yeah, we're going to owe everybody a pit stop because we're not going to get to the end. I mean, the way we're going, we're going to chew through these tyres before we even get close to the end. But this could be to get the lap back on Verstappen. If we could do that, that would be very, very nice indeed. Thank you very much. Crawford's up to 7th. He's got past Russell. We've got Gasly in front of us now. I just want to make sure that Sargeant is actually able to drive away from Verstappen. It looks like he's going to be able to there, so that's good. I mean, we are absolutely flying. Look at it. I mean, it's every time we click between the drivers, we're making up spots. But yeah, it's just a matter of if they can stay on the road. We're taking massive, massive risks to do this. And Sargeant gets himself another position. How's Crawford's tyres? So Crawford's tyres will make the end. That's not a problem. Sargeant, he might even make the end now as well. Now that it's... Well, but we know. We're 90% sure anyway. We're going to need to stop again. But this is the difference between being on a wet tyre and intermediate tyre when the track is wet. It would have been worth... I'm actually thinking we did the right thing here. As Crawford gets another position past Bottas. Because the other thing is too, I wonder if they're going to be able to actually go to the end on these intermediates. If they have to stop again, if you know both cars have to make, or everybody has to make 2 more stops, and us is to go onto inters and them is to switch their inters, then you know this might work out for us yet anyway. The track though looks like it is just starting to dry up a little bit. How long have we got left here? Yeah, so we're starting to enter the phase where we're expecting it to dry out and our advantage to start to dip away a little bit. Now, if we look at gaps to lead, it's a little bit easier. We're looking at Schumacher a little bit further. Well, how much faster are we a lap right now? We're doing 130s there. So we are 8 seconds or so a lap faster. So we've more than made up for the stop, I think. if we have 10 laps at 6, that's 60 seconds. That can't be right, can it? Maybe it's not been 10 laps. But Sargeant's got himself up to 12th. I mean, Sargeant is absolutely flying here, and we're still wet conditions, though it is coming a little bit more back towards the intermediate runners. As Norris has pit now. Now, what's he going to do? Is he going to go into a wet tyre? Because this is the wrong time to go into a wet tyre, Lando. And is that going to allow Crawford to get past him? As Crawford just got past Guan Yu Zhou. Here we go. We'll see in a minute. Norris is just coming out of the pits. We will see him there in front of us. And he's gone onto a wet tyre. So Norris has jumped. He's seen how much faster we are. There's a big part of me that thinks we've pushed this. We've done well. Let's stop pushing it. But do we just back it off a little bit with Crawford? I mean, he's in 4th. He's had a good race, hasn't he? Okay, so let's just maybe we'll go back, just back it off to aggressive more so than all-out attack. Sargeant, I think, still needs to attack because he is still putting himself in a little bit of a hole that he's got to get out of. And we need to get past Schumacher. I think is actually on a wet tire, so we need to try and get past him as soon as possible here. So if we go on to overtake and try and get this done down the straight. This should be, relatively speaking, easy under brakes. And we'll go again. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Please don't be Crawford. Crawford has just got past Norris. So Crawford is now looking at a podium. And the track has just dipped into intermediate conditions. And I don't think we're expecting it to go back. So this is probably, therefore, the perfect lap to bring in everybody, right? Yeah, it would. I mean, it is the right time, I think, to bring him in. So let's do that onto an intermediate, and we've made the most of the wet conditions, and we will now, hopefully, anyway, have done enough to put ourselves in a decent position for the rest of the race. So I mean, that was a stunning drive. Let's not brush over that. A stunning drive from Crawford to get himself up into 3rd. Stroll is coming in as well. We know that Sargeant will be coming in. Relatively quick stop. And Crawford is going to come out in 5th, is he? No, just behind Bottas in 6th. So how is his tyre life looking to get to the end? A little bit okay, so if he's that marginal... Now, he was marginal on aggressive. So he should be okay, but... how is everybody else going to do? Are they going to be able to get to the end? They've been on Inters a lot longer than we have. Sargeant is down there now in 16th. So Sargeant is still struggling. But Jack Crawford, absolutely flying. And Norris is going to have to come back into the pits because his wet tyres are now no longer the fashionable item that they were when we were using them. So this... oh, well, it comes back to it. Stay on the track, Jack, but this is going to be a massive result if you can. All right, we are just coming back with Crawford in the process of trying to get past Valtteri Bottas for 5th. Now, we did use a little bit of ERS to try and get it done. Hopefully, it's going to be enough now. And Gasly was catching us quite quickly, so I did just want to try and get that move done if we could, and it looks as though we have indeed managed to do that. So Crawford in 5th. Norris is currently, 4 or 5 seconds a lap slower on the wet tyre, so we're going to catch him very quickly. Guan Yu Zhou up there in 3rd in the Aston Martin. It's a funny old race, this one, isn't it? And there's still 20-odd laps to go. Look, here's Lando Norris here. Now, we've caught him. How long ago did we pit? Absolutely hand over fist we're catching Norris, and we should get this done down the straight. And that is going to be 4th for Jack Crawford. There's a competitor crash. Is it Sargeant? It is not. Sargeant's behind a nice little gaggle of cars there as well, so he could find himself moving up a little bit. What a race. This is just so back and forth. Incredible stuff.
We've had a crash.
Alright, so we're going to jump on board now with Sargeant. Now, we're trying to get him past a couple of cars here that could yet see him score points, which would be absolutely just insane if he could do that. Crawford's still looking good up there in 4th. His battery is empty, so he's not quite been able to do it. But he's clearly faster than these guys. And, yeah. I wonder if we try and harvest a little bit here. And see if we can do it like a couple of deploy laps or something, maybe. But, yeah. This race is not done yet, although look at that. Everyone up to 8th has been lapped. It's not a long lap, but still, that is impressive. Alright, track conditions have gone back to wet. Now, this was the little bit that we were expecting here, wasn't it? I think we've just got to see this out, if I'm honest. I don't see a point in coming in for what's going to be a couple of laps. So we did see we were a lot faster, but I think we would cover one. We would cover one stop. I don't think we would cover 2 stops. And that's the, you know, because we then have to come back in and put inters on. And I think that is what is sort of not great for this. Crawford is going to do his very best, hopefully, to hold up the cars behind. I mean, it's the same for everybody, obviously, but we're talking about Gasly, Bottas. These are seasoned Formula 1, you know, very, very good drivers. So he'll do very well to keep them behind. But we need to struggle through this phase of the race. And then it'll come back to us a little bit more. Sargeant similarly is trying to hold off Mick Schumacher right now. Now, there's not really any excuse for that. Mick Schumacher is not a good driver. As the track goes back to intermediates, which is what we like to see. Verstappen is about to lap everybody up to 4th. He is absolutely just ridiculous, this race. Alright, we have a few laps to go here. Crawford still in 4th. He does have Gasly behind him. He's going to do his best. He's a lap down now, so we've actually got a lap less to do than we would otherwise expect. So that is all good. We could probably push the petrol then a little bit too, couldn't we? Because we are going to, that's Verstappen there. We're not going to get back past him. So I think we can push that a little bit. But we've come back for Sargeant because Sargeant, we've absolutely sent him on the attack. Full beans. And he is... well, this is points. This is 9th, 10th, and 11th in front of him. So we're really pushing the tyres. We'll go on to overtake down the straight, and I think we can push this. But yeah, we'll see exactly what he can do. If he can get down the outside, over under, not quite there. But yeah, this is... I'm not going to risk Crawford 4th, 5th. It's a wonderful result for him. That's absolutely fine. But whether if we're not in the top 10, then Sargeant has absolutely nothing to lose here. So we will keep trying to go for it. And there's a move on Perez, and he now has the 2 who are they? Alfa Romeos in front of him, K-Mag and Albon. K-Mag, of course, won this race last season. Can we go down the outside? We can. There's a nice move. Now, can we get Alexander Albon as well? We're in the points as things stand. Oh, well, we're back out of the points.
DRS is currently disabled.
No, we're back in the points. Can we go and get a move done? Not quite. Let's overtake. Let's go and get him. Please, K-Mag up the inside. Not quite. K-Mag won't go away, will he? We should have the inside line here, so that should all be good. We've got the outside line now, so that's not quite so good. Come on, just put him away. Put him away. There we go. That should be K-Mag done. And we just need to go and get Alexander Albon now. I'm a little bit concerned that I've messed up the petrol there, but if we're doing a lap short, then it should be okay. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure that I've got that correct, so I'll just be a little bit careful. And because how many laps have we done? There's one of these things, lap 66. Yeah, so we're going to do a lap less, so it should be fine. But let's stay on board here with Sargeant. Tyres overheating. You might just need to deal with that, Logan, and get this move done. And then we can worry about tyre temperature. Oh, can he get it done there? Can he get it done there? Let's go deploy. Let's get this done. There we go. Round the outside. That is 9th for Logan Sargeant. Now we will back off the tyres. We'll deploy for as long as we can, which I think is just about to there. And hopefully, there's no DRS, of course, because the track is wet. hopefully that is going to be enough to see us ninth with Sargeant. We've got Stroll 12 seconds up the road. That's unlikely to happen. Let's just go conserve on fuel. I'm making myself very nervous now that I've got that wrong. So we will jump round the lap a little bit, and we will see that Jack Crawford is pulling a gap on Gasly. 2 laps to go. Ignore what lap we're on. It doesn't matter what lap we're on. It matters what lap Verstappen is on. Let's just get that back into the positive. I have a horrible feeling that the game is not necessarily calculating that properly. So we'll just be on the safe side and make sure that we are going to get there. Once that goes back to positive, we will just go back to balanced, and that should all be fine. The gap, Albon is still right there on Sargeant, but again, it should be absolutely fine. And of course, Sargeant has got a damaged car as well. Let's not forget. But here we go, final lap of the race, and Crawford is over a second ahead of Pierre Gasly. This has been an absolutely stonking drive from Crawford. He's done brilliantly. He's sitting 4th. Guan Yu Zhou is in 3rd. I mean, that's a good drive from him as well, but such a shame Crawford couldn't have got himself on the podium here. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, does it? It's going to be a race-rescuing drive, really. I mean, when Sargeant gets 4th, we all clap and cheer and say what a wonderful job he's done. Crawford was not expected to do that here. A mixed conditions race as well. And Verstappen is going to win. But Jack Crawford is going to come 4th. A career best result in Hungary. Well done to Jack Crawford. And now we turn our attention over to Logan Sargeant here. Let's just put him on deploy. Looks like it's over a second back to Albon. And Sargeant, he's come from dead last in the wall to score 2 points. Well done, Logan. That's not a bad recovery either, mate. So there we go, Crawford up 9. He's my man of the match. Yes, he was a lap down, but that's still a wonderful, wonderful drive to get 4th. Sargeant actually lost a place, but he had a very, very eventful race. So to come out of it with 2 points is probably not the worst thing for him. Ocon, Stroll had good races as well. And then there's some sorry tales at the back there, isn't there? So that is that. The driver's standings. Logan Sargeant drops behind Sainz now, only by 2 points though. And if we go down, Jack Crawford up to 18 points with his 4th place. And suddenly you look at, Lando Norris there in 12th. What happened to him? He fell away that race, didn't he? Where did he finish, actually? Because he was 2nd for a long time. He did have... Oh, he mucked up his tyre strategy, didn't he? And he ends up in 13th. A race of what could have been for him. Albon, let's look at the one-stoppers. Stop must have gone on to an intermediate and then stayed there. And as for Haas, well, as I said, it was a race-saving 4th place for Crawford, and we've pulled out the gap a little bit more on Mercedes. We're looking good for 4th, aren't we? So there we go, guys. That is that. It is the summer break now, I believe. It's always Spa, isn't it, when you come back from the summer break? We'll have a new front wing, a new rear wing. We might have 1 or 2 other things as well. But if you've enjoyed that, Jack Crawford, absolute star. And yeah, looking forward to the next one now. Take care.